All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Uplink. I'm Jacob Swin, marketing manager with Nova Labs, the founding team behind the Helium Network. And super excited to have Chris and Benjie from the OrkneyLoRa team here to talk a little bit about how they're using Helium for IoT solutions in very remote locations. And Chris, before we even get too much into this, I have a little spiel about Helium to do, but you want to tell us a little bit just where you're located? Because like I was telling you before this started, I had no idea that Orkney Islands were even a place, before I met and talked to you. So you want to tell people where you're at so they get a sense of kind of where the Orkney Islands are?
Yeah, so we're actually located on one of the most northerly remote islands of the UK. So a lot of people, when they think of Great Britain or the UK, they just think of sort of England, Scotland, and Wales. But at the very top of Scotland, there's two. If you kept going north into the sea, there's an archipelago of islands, which is Orkney, and then further north, there's another archipelago called Shetland. So we're on the first archipelago of islands called the Orkney Islands. And then the actual island where we're based is called North Ronaldsay, and that's the most northerly of the Orkney Islands. The island's only sort of 4.5 miles long by 3 miles wide, roughly, so it's quite small, and we're
Yeah,
just all linked with ferries and little planes. Yeah.
very cool. I think this is really exciting because we talk about like helium having global coverage, but a lot of it's in like major cities around the world and things like that. But getting getting helium coverage on these remote little places and these little islands and archipelagos and stuff is, exactly what we're thinking about when building out the network globally. So super cool to have you on. All right. Like I said, I'm gonna do a quick little thing on helium here in case people don't know much about the network. So we're a people powered network built, totally open source, decentralized, built by the people for the people, I like to say. And we kind of think of it as a wireless revolution, like we're doing something that no one else has before. And we've been able to do that. Since 2013, although we've had some different iterations of Helium throughout the years. But Helium itself was founded in 2013 with the central mission to make it easier to build decentralized wireless networks. And we've built the largest decentralized wireless network in the world. And we've had a lot of help to get to this point. And so we're very grateful to, this is just some of the VC firms. We've had some of the best VC firms in the world kind of backing us and helping to make this a reality. So you can see some of them there. You can see more on our website. But generally, we're just super grateful to them for helping us get to this point. Some stats, I always say this, but I did update this very recently, so these should be as accurate as I can make them. But we might have had another hotspot pop up on one of the Orkney Islands somewhere while we're talking. I don't know, but we keep getting, the network is growing very quickly. We're getting to that 1 million, that magical kind of 1 million hotspot mark, slowly getting there, in over 71,000 cities and 182 countries around the world. So super cool to see on our Helium Explorer, like the coverage map just continue to grow and see those hotspots pop up around the world. Some of the kind of the selling points for Helium, and this isn't everything, but some of kind of the major, the differentiators for us are with low data transfer costs to use the network. Our kind of boilerplate example is for a device that sends data every 5 minutes, it's around $1 per year, which is, I hear a lot. That's like a tenth of the price for like GPS and things like that a lot of the time. So, it just doesn't cost very much to use the network. It's also really accessible and easy to use with pretty much any compatible off-the-shelf LoRaWAN device. It's easy for people to get up and running and upload devices on Helium console. And, because we have this major, massive global coverage, most people don't have to buy gateways or any additional hardware to get up and, start using the network. There's already existing infrastructure there. Now, Chris, you might not fall under that category. There probably wasn't existing Helium infrastructure out in the islands where you're at. But, now if someone else wants to come out there and start using Helium, you've deployed coverage there. So,
There actually was. There was in the two main towns. There was some hotspots popped up.
really,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
that's
Nothing to
awesome.
do
I
with
love it. Yeah, very cool. And then you only pay based on usage. So you're not signing any contracts. You're not being locked in anything that's going to charge you for like overages, anything like that at all. So it's just you're paying based on usage, and that's it for Helium. Along with OrkneyLoRa, our ecosystem is just rapidly growing. I mean, my job is to kind of work with these ecosystem partners on board, do marketing, things like that. And I'm really busy right now, and which is a good problem to have. But we've had tons of different ecosystem members, all types of different solutions and things enabled by the network. You can see that more. Check it out on helium.com/ecosystem. And you can go back and watch some of our older Uplink episodes as well for some of those partners. We've also got some pretty exciting updates coming or have just happened. For any of you who have been following us for a few months now, we had our first in-person event before I worked here, but I think it was like 3 years or something, for Helium House Austin. It was a big hit. We had, announcements, we had speakers, we had different panels, we had IoT use cases being shown, all types of stuff. So we're coming back by popular demand to New York City on September 20th. So if you haven't registered and you want to go and you're going to be in New York City, check it out. You can just Google Helium House and it'll take you right there and you can register. Free to go as well too. We just launched mobile, so Helium 5G, a big initiative right now. And the mobile token, they were just launched, I believe, last Friday. It seems like a year, but pretty sure it was last week. And so you can read more about that on the Helium blog and check it out. But a lot of really exciting things around Helium 5G happening. And then today, actually, we just announced Nova Labs acquired Freedom Fi. Freedom Fi is one of our 5G partner, or was one of our 5G partners before this announcement. So really excited to kind of keep moving forward in that 5G and cellular space with Freedom Fi on board. And like I said, I'm onboarding new ecosystem members all the time. So you can go back on our YouTube and check out Helium ecosystem playlist, Uplink playlist. You can see me talking with a lot of our new users and see who's using the network and what they're using it for. That is pretty much my talk here, Chris. So I'm going to hand the keys over to you and let you tell people a little bit about what you guys are doing out there in Orkney Islands.
Great. Yeah. Thank you very much, Jacob. It's great to see how fast the network's growing. That's good news for us because the more coverage, the more potential places we can offer our services. So it's great to see. Yeah. So I'll so OrkneyLoRa, we're a new company. It's basically just me and Benjie, my partner in crime. He will be here. He'll answer any questions in the chat that pop up. But yeah, so we're quite a new company. Started beginning of this year. Although I came to the LoRaWAN industry as a crypto investor first. Found about Helium and then found about the LoRaWAN industry, and I thought it was fascinating. And then sort of looking at in the remote place where we live, myself and Benjie started realizing that there's actually a lot of use cases here where we are. It was great to see all these hotspots popping up in the cities, but we were sort of thinking, what about the rural areas of the country and rural parts around the world even? And yeah, so I'll talk about a few of the sort of unique use cases that are here and that probably could be applied to rural places in other around the world as well. We've got some unique sort of local problems that can be solved by IoT. And then we've also got some demonstration projects that are on the go, so I'll talk about those. And then I'll give a little walk through our app. So we've built an app, and that's sort of the core of our business. We've just built a service where we're filling in that gap. So where the general, sort of the small business, the consumer, if they've got some IoT devices that they want to use, they don't want to do all the technical know-how in between. Although it's really easy to sort of set up with the Helium console, we offer that end user interface service. So how are you actually going to visualize your data and how you're going to see your temperatures and your GPS locator. And we're concentrating sort of mainly on, we're coming up with our ideas using our local knowledge and the unique problems here, but we do have the potential, thanks to the spread nature of the Helium network to offer our service anywhere. So yeah, so I've got a little presentation which I'll just start here. I'll just share my screen.
All right. And while you're sharing, Chris, I think this is really interesting because a lot of people, like I said, Helium has really good coverage in urban areas, but a lot of people in like rural areas sometimes are wanting to know how they can, come up with solutions and things like that in places where there isn't that massive coverage. So what you guys are doing is really cool for those people to kind of check out and see and how Helium can work even in these rural, remote areas.
Yeah, sure. So hopefully it'll, bore some ideas, inspire some other people. And yeah, and for those that just want, want to pay for the service, have it done for them, we're one of the options in the Helium ecosystem. So OrkneyLoRa. So in a nutshell, we're creating local IoT solutions in remote areas, and we're bringing the LoRaWAN devices to a wider market and offering a ready-to-use app. We're continuing developing our app, and we're meeting individual customer needs. So this sort of is us in a nutshell. We're integrating all the systems behind the scenes in order to achieve these solutions. So people can come to our web store and source the IoT devices themselves from us if they wish, or they can source the IoT devices from whatever supplier they choose. And then we are linking that to the network through the hotspots to the network. And then we've got our app. We've partnered with Tago.io, which I'm sure many of you have heard of if you're part of the ecosystem. They're a great platform for building applications and solutions on, like OrkneyLoRa has. So we link all of these systems together, and then the end result is a complete user interface with lots of functionality where people can easily use their IoT devices on the network. So where we are, this is a lovely part of the Orkney Isles that's called the Churchill Barriers there, built during World War II. And you can see sort of that's a good example of sort of the rural type of area that we live in. The water's great, by the way. That extends the range of LoRaWAN by several miles. The radio signals bounce off the water brilliantly, so we can link up to other isles quite well. But yeah, we find in the Orkney Isles, there's gaps in cellular activity and Wi-Fi. So we don't have. There is obviously 4G coverage and possibly in the future 5G coverage, maybe with the help of Helium in the future. But there's still gaps, and there's places where modern technological solutions could be used to solve quite a few problems. And that's where the Helium LoRaWAN network can fill in the gaps. It's a relatively low cost way, and even on the main island of Orkney, the biggest island, there is individuals that have set up hotspots and provided connectivity. And we haven't had to do anything. We've only set up the hotspots on our own island. So that just shows the power of Helium, really, is that even there's LoRaWAN connectivity filling in the gaps where we can create some solutions using IoT. So some of the unique problems I've mentioned. The wind is a big one, especially here. There's hardly any trees here in Orkney. There's nothing, it's very flat. There's nothing to break the wind. North Ronaldsay, where we are, we're sandwiched between the North Sea and the Atlantic Ocean, and the winds just batter us. As a local and a resident, we understand this, and there's sort of a rule here that you keep, especially in the winter, you keep all your doors and windows shut, because if you don't, your shed and your outbuilding is going to end up like that one in the image there. It's great there's lots of wind turbines. We've got lots of renewable energy here, so it's great for that, but it's not so great for buildings. But if you're a resident, you know how to deal with that. But one of the problems we discovered here on the island is visitors to the island don't realize this, and the wind can pick up very quickly. And they'll do things, they'll visit We've got like museum archive in the old church, and they'll do things like leave the door open, thinking it's a nice.
Oh, did we lose Chris?
So here's another example. So in the winter, we can be cut off from our ferry service and our plane service for several weeks. So most people on the island here keep a good pantry full of food. But the weather can get in, and you need to know that instead of having to manually check the condition of your pantry, you'll see here, this is an example in my house where I've got a mile site temperature and humidity sensor monitoring there. And we can keep an eye on the humidity in there, make sure all my tin foods there don't go rusty. So, that's something, a pantry like that is common here. But an also common problem with that is the food spoiling. So if you go away for a couple of weeks, you be able to see with OrkneyLoRa's app at a glance if the humidity's gone a bit high, and you can ask a neighbor to check in on your food for you. So there's little things like that make a big difference. So we've got several demonstration projects that we're starting on. We've been supported by the Highlands Islands Enterprise, which they're a great support and enabler of small to medium businesses in the Highlands of Scotland and the islands. So, too far there. So this is one of our local establishments, the North Ronaldsay Bird Observatory. It's sort of the hub of the island. It's where it's the only sort of bed and breakfast on the island. They got restaurant service, cafe, and it's the only little shop on the island. And they suffer for the same problem. So I was talking about the wind, how we can know if someone's left the door open. So you see there, we've got a bra and door and window sensor. That one's just nice and discreet, just stuck at the bottom top of the door there. And the owner of the North Ronaldsay Birds Observatory, she can see at a glance using our app whether the door has been left open. So in the evenings when there's no staff around and she's gone home from work for the day, one of the worries if the wind picks up, and it has happened before as well. So we're not just assuming this could be a problem. We've actually had it. We've had a door blow off or a roof disappear because a guest has left the door open. She'll be able to, from the comfort of her sofa, load up the OrkneyLoRa app, and through the power of the Helium Network, have a quick look. Yep, the door's shut. Or, oh dear, the door's been left open. She'll probably ring me to go and shut it. But it could save a lot of money in severe damages to the building. And you see there with the Orkney ice cream freezer, that's another one. That's just your a layered temperature sensor. I'm sure a lot of you know about temperature and the cold chain sensors. But again, it's something that's made possible in this remote location for a small business. If she wanted to set a system using her Wi-Fi up, it could be a lot more expensive. But because the helium coverage is already there, all she's got to do with these battery-powered sensors is stick them in the freezer, and you're good to go.
Hey Chris, I had a question real fast. Since you were showing a RoWAN sensor on that last one on the door, I think. How long does the battery last for you on those when they're?
I mean, it depends how often the door's opening and closing, I suppose, for when it sends the data. But we've had one running for 8 months now, and the battery's not halfway gone yet. So months and months. I reckon there's probably about a year's life, and that's with quite heavy use.
It's 6 months according to the website.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one of the benefits is there's no wiring. You don't need to wire it into the mains. We don't need to find electrical sockets or anything because it's only bytes of data being sent. It's so low powered and it's so easy. That door and window sensor was installed in a couple minutes. It's just a sticky pad, stick it to the door. The battery lasts about a year. And, yeah.
I have another question just from me here. do you have ideas of things in mind, I guess, for solutions, or are you kind of reacting to, the environment? You're like you said, there's wind, there's all these kinds of things that like, people on the mainland or something might not have to deal with. So are you just kind of, is OrkneyLoRa, I guess, kind of evolving as more things come up just based on like where you live a little bit and then using helium for that type of thing?
Um, that's certainly how it started. I'd probably say a bit of both. That's certainly how it started. That's what inspired us to think. There's a business here locally.
Yeah.
We were sort of reacting, seeing these problems on the island, and thinking, and we've discovered helium and the LoRaWAN technology, and we were probably reacting at first, but I would say we're coming up with sort of, now we're into it. We're hooked into the ecosystem sort of thing. We're starting to come up with other ideas, and we're developing our own products behind the scenes as well. But
Gotcha.
this is certainly how it started, is sort of finding unique solutions to problems that have persisted for a long time. So
Yeah. No, I think it's a good story for people who, maybe live in these remote areas. Like, they can use you guys as an example. Like, hey, I live in a place where, I deal with stuff that people in like a big city or somewhere else might not deal with, but helium can enable some solutions for that regardless. So it's very cool.
yeah, yeah. And all these devices as well, they're off the shelf. You can get them from there's lots of distributors. So there's a couple guys in the UK that we use, all IoT and connected devices. And then we're partnered with CalChip as well.
Okay.
You can actually buy our app through CalChip on their website. That's the other great thing is, these devices are off the shelf. So it's as simple as, so you're seeing the fruit and veg in the shop there, that's the same sensor that was in my pantry, just literally cable tied to the underside of the rack in there, and all we got to do is order one of those, and if you don't want to use something like Tago and build the user interface yourself, you can contact a business like us, like OrkneyLoRa, to do that bit for you. So it's literally just a case of providing there's helium coverage there, which is easy to check on the Helium Explorer. You're good to go, and it's just so easy. So that's what's great about it. And you don't need to worry about setting up a separate network. Helium coverage is there. So this is one of our other projects. So there's a local trust that run a bike hire scheme. So visitors to the island arrive. Most of them arrive they all arrive by boat or plane. Most of them arrive by the plane. So this bike hire shed is located near the airport. So the Brian weatherproof tracker there, we haven't done this yet, but we have tested it with a single one, and it worked great. The whole island was covered, and we're going to be just attaching these GPS trackers to the hire bikes. So some of the problems they were getting, they might arrive by plane, but they leave by the ferry. So they'll pick a bike up from the bike shed, but then they'll leave it abandoned at the pier. And the guys, they volunteer running this bike hire. So, they could be at work and they don't want to be scouring the island looking for their lost hire bikes. And, these bikes are a lot of money to maintain. And you don't want to leave bikes out in the salt air on the island. You want to get them inside because the chains start rusting. So adding a tracker to these bikes is a good investment for them, and they can see at a glance. Again, use the OrkneyLoRa app or build your own app on Tago. They just load up our app and they can see at a glance where the bikes are and collect them, and it saves them a lot of time, especially when it's volunteers running these things. And there's also a safety element to it as well. So as visitors, they'll cycle around the island. If somebody goes missing, we can at least see where the bike was, and it gives us a better location. So if people go missing, there's a good sort of safety element there as well. That's another sort of I suppose that was a reactive one to us, although we've seen sort of the trackers and helium being used with other similar schemes, and we thought that would be great great to use here as well. And that's the shed and the door and window sensor being deployed again there. So the trust have got this lovely new shed to house their bikes. You know, they want to protect and prevent the roof being taken off in the winter of that. So a simple door and window sensor, you know, and an alert set up on our app, and they can do that.
Very cool.
Cool. And so this is another one that we're trialing out a few different sensors here. So we've got this is West Nest Ponds. So this is right in the very far corner of North Ronaldsay, very remote. There's no phone signal there. There's actually no. There is an old ruined property there, which might get restored one day, but at the moment there's not even electricity there, so you couldn't set up. There's no phone line there, so you couldn't set up Wi-Fi, and you can't set up any other form of connectivity without significant cost. So this is probably one where we're more coming up with ideas of how the network could benefit different solutions, because we noticed that the RSPB were digging new ponds there to create new water areas for wader birds. So they're trying to improve the area for local wildlife for wading. We get a lot of visiting wading birds, and they were digging new ponds, and we thought, well, how are they going to know? You know, how are they going to know? You know, if the ponds have dried up, if they're even working, you know, and because it's such a remote area and there's no way of sort of monitoring it without significant cost. And we're like, well, we've already got the network connectivity, and so as part of our demonstration projects, we're showing off some of these sensors and how they work with our app. So there's a few different types. The one with the coiled cable there, that's the Milesite submersible. So there's a submersible pressure sensor under the water, and that measures the water from, you know, the depth going by the pressure resting on the sensor. Then we're also trying out the ultrasonic distance there, and that works the same. You've got a, in your whatever application you use, in our OrkneyLoRa app, the sort of formula is done for you. You just put in the distance that the sensor is from the water, and then a bit of maths, and that works out the height of the water for you. And they connect fine to the network from there. The nearest hotspot is probably about what would you say, Benji, about 3 miles away, something like that. And I mean, it's a good area for LoRaWAN. You know, there's no trees, no buildings, but they are down behind a brow, so it does have to go over a hill. And yeah, and so again, creating some great solutions. We are going to put these in all the other ponds, but at the moment the birds are still nesting there at the moment, so we've got to wait for the winter before we can deploy them in all the other ponds.
Yeah. So you said the nearest hotspot for that is like 3 miles away?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, very cool. Do you have an estimation of how many hotspots? I mean, maybe you guys have deployed some out there, but like how many are on the islands or in this archipelago that kind of create coverage for all over the place? You know, I think sometimes people don't realize you only need 1, maybe 2 hotspots to really, you know, blanket a large area with coverage.
Yeah, that's it. So I would probably say, similar to the cities, you know, the 2 main towns have got the best, which isn't on our island, it's on one of the other islands, Kirkwall and Stromness. They've got probably about half a dozen hotspots each. You know, some of those are in the same hexes, so quite dense there. But there's a couple dotted around, and if you use, so we set up an external one, an outdoor hotspot with a decent antenna, and then that created a lot of coverage going across the sort of the whole of the east side of the main island. So I'll probably say on our little island, we've there's 3 active on our little island, which cover the whole island, and they actually cover. We tested a tracker, so the islands are linked by a small little 8-seater plane, and that's basically our local bus. So we hop in this plane and fly between the islands, and we took a tracker on one of the planes and landed on the neighboring island, which is about 20 to 30 miles away, and it connected to the hotspot back on our island easy. I mean,
Oh, wow.
it's sort of the ideal conditions because it's flat and ocean, and it was a good weather,
Yeah.
but it shows sort of the potential of the range, really. And if we could get a hotspot on each island, we'd have most of the archipelago covered. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's very cool. I was going to say, I don't see a single mountain or a tree in any of these pictures at all.
No, it
definitely
is an ideal.
good for it.
Yeah, it's an ideal landscape, I must admit. But
Yeah.
it
Impressive.
solves problems. Yeah, it solves problems. There's no forward phone. It's still a lot cheaper way of getting some sort of connectivity. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll just come off this for a moment and I'll show you our app. So that's some of the demonstration projects we've got running, and I'll just show you what the OrkneyLoRa app actually looks like here. So if you do use our service, this is everything you get, and we're continually developing, and we're a very personal service. We can adapt things to suit the customer. And this is what it looks like if you buy our service. You got the nice welcome screen there, easy navigation through the side menus here. And a shout out to Tago. They're great if you want to build some of this yourself. They got some great sort of Kickstarter programs there that can get you part of the way there. So you would have this, and then this is the bird observatory that I showed you a moment ago. These are all the sensors currently deployed there. We've got a few more to go. And you have the list of sensors. So what should we check? Let's have a look at the ice cream freezer. Little bit of a lag here. We've actually been quite lucky with our internet service today, so I won't jinx it. There we are. So there's no humidity on this one because it's the layered probe sensor, so it's only measuring temperature. So you see it's monitoring the temperature constantly. You can view the history. This will come up as a chart. And you'll notice the layered ones are very, very precise, and they're compliant with food safety standards inspections here in the UK. And you'll notice when people open the freezer and stuff, it's that sensitive. And all this is what we've built. This is what OrkneyLoRa is selling, and useful things for a business owner like Alison. She can export the history of the temperatures. So when the health and safety inspector comes around, she's got as many years temperature readings as she wants at the click of a button. Saying that is lagging. There we go. So you can see history there, and you can export that. Some of you guys probably already know this if you've played with Tago or similar platforms, but there's many people who don't. They may have one of these sensors and they don't know where to go. They can come to the likes of us, and it's all there, ready to go. We upload your sensor, and it's as simple as that. The service is all there for you, and then we also offer. You can do the alerts. So you can set up alerts. So say she wants to set up an alert that sends her a text message when the freezer's getting too warm. You can set all that up. Annual reports or monthly reports, so she can have an automatic report sent to her. She's got it in her inbox, ready for when the inspector comes around. And our app we've got similar systems set up for the tracker. I mean, I don't want to, teach the community to suck eggs. They've probably seen a lot of this and played with a lot of similar systems, and there's a lot of options out there. But I guess where our unique standpoint is we're coming at it with unique solutions, and we're building. We've written the decoders and everything for each of these sensors to make them as efficient as possible. And when you get that personal service with us. So this is the app. You can add multiple users. This part tells you about your account. There's a little message box here so the OrkneyLoRa team can send you a message. If you've got a technical issue in with us, we'll pop your answers here. It's those little messages between us. Tells you how many email notifications you got left, SMS notifications you got left each month, what package you're on.
So Chris, these are people on the island using this app you built, right? To check alerts and things like that. Do you have people using this? Do you have customers outside of the islands that are using this at all? Is that part of your plans for like to expand just the islands?
Yeah, sure. So this is what's great with the Helium Network. Although we started solving local problems and we've built this app, we already have a couple international customers. We've got a customer in America that has a tracker on his ATV, and he's using our app. Essentially, he's paying for the app. So just go back to the presentation here. So we've set up a load of packages that we offer. So there's 3 packages, and we've already got some international customers. I mean, to name a couple, we've got it's mostly trackers at the moment, but it's great that our app that we've built for local solutions here is actually finding a use case all around the world. So like I said, we've got a customer in the States tracking his ATV. We've got a customer in Sweden that's recently had a tracker and then found our website and ordered one of our packages. And we've also got customers down in England as well using it. So it's great that we're sort of becoming a little business running in a remote area, but we're able to, sort of make take a little slice out of the industry and make a good business out of this.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
If anyone's interested,
cool.
If anyone wants an easy, simple personal service, and they've got some devices they want to try out on the Helium Network, you can contact us. You'll find these packages on our website as well, and you can contact us through the email there. You Google us, you'll find us, and we can offer our services to anywhere. And with the Helium Network, it's almost literally anywhere where there's Helium Network coverage. And that's the power of the internet, and that's the power of Helium. So it's great for us. We can create a little business, and hopefully it might go somewhere one day, and we could have a proper little business employing more people than just the 2 of us in the future. So that'd be great.
Yeah, that's the goal. Hey, I had a pretty good question from Dylan in the chat here. He's been looking on Reddit and social media and things, and people, there's all kind of speculations about the real world cost of like these kind of deployments and, getting things up and running, like what you've shown, these use cases. Can you, just a generalization is fine, but talk about like the real world cost for kind of adapting to your use cases, like development, deployment, monthly expenses using the network, just, ballpark. Some people think like it'll be really expensive to get started on these use cases, things like that. So, you don't have to tell us exact financials, but just kind of like a, generalize.
Yeah, so if you want to, so we've got quite a lot of sensors on our Tago account now, and the costs do ramp up quite a bit, but we're coming up with ways of reducing those overheads. So like we're going to send the data through our own server, so we set up a VPS, and we're working on routing the data through there, which reduces some of the overheads. But generally, to get set up, it depends what you're trying to do. But there's other platforms other than Tago, but Tago is a great option for starting. They offer a free option where, and you can use the Helium if you just got a couple devices you want to try first. There's the Helium console. Is free to get started as well. So you get initial credits. But the cost for Helium is next to nothing. The biggest overhead for us is paying Benjie there to write the code and write the parsers. Sorry, Benjie, dropping you in it. He's not the biggest cost, but so you got him. We're in a home. We're just a home office. I set the office up in my house. Use Tago's free service to get started, and then eventually, once we had a few customers and we got some projects going, we upgraded to their sort of starter package. and then you just it's I would say it's a great, the Helium network is a great enabler of ideas, um, and if it turns into a little side business or even a proper business in the future, that's even better. That's more people benefiting from a community, and you can put back into the community as well. We put any sort of code we come up with, you can put on the make it open source, and everyone benefits.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you, I mean, I don't know business plans, things like that, but because you guys have kind of developed solutions for remote locations that, like we talked about, have you thought about marketing it just like specifically for people in those other remote locations around the world who can maybe, I mean, because you kind of have experience like developing solutions like we were talking about reactionary a little bit based on like the conditions or like where people are on an island or something like that. I mean, is that something you've thought about, like, hey, we're the one-stop shop for like remote IoT solution, or rural IoT solutions, something like that?
Yeah, I think we have thought about that, and I think that's sort of the route we need to go. Because it's competitive world out there,
Yeah.
and that's where our sort of expertise is. In the last couple of years, we've we knew about these problems, but we've learned how to solve some of these problems through IoT and using the Helium network. But yeah, definitely, I think that's how we would market. There's rural areas that are lacking digital connectivity, and if you can set, so I think it's still relatively local to us, but use the Highlands for example. It's big mountainous areas. It's not easy to get connectivity in those areas, but the nearest town or village may have got hardline internet. If you can pop a hotspot there, in a way, it's sort of for a specific device, a type of device, it extends the internet, several miles down the valley, and there's different solutions we've thought about there. So yeah, certainly. I mean, we're actually exhibiting at the IoT, the Tech Expo IoT Global in London on the first, 2nd December. So that's where we're hoping to meet some people and show off what we can do. But we're still developing. I think it still needs a bit of refinement. Although we can offer a service now, anyone who takes up our service, you will notice the app improving every week. We're working on it all the time, and I think if we can build slowly and more sustainably, then we'll get into the marketing a bit more then.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's very cool, and you guys have a really interesting story. Just, I think, just being out where you are and being able to develop these solutions that, people aren't even thinking of. Like, I haven't heard of anyone else thinking of like, hey, the roof of my shed's going to blow over because it's so windy, I mean, those types of things. So
Yeah,
it's very cool
yeah.
to look at that kind of
It's
stuff.
a unique, sort of thing here. You wouldn't think about it, but we get this wind, and it is something that crosses your mind. You think, oh, did that customer was lovely, but did they shut the door on that shed? That's £1,000 shed that could go if I
There you
don't. And then
go.
you've got to get in your car, you've got to drive up and check because otherwise you won't sleep.
Yeah.
And it's little things like that. Instead, they can load up our app and have a quick look. And yeah, these sort of problems will be. These problems will be replicated elsewhere around the world, and hopefully that's where OrkneyLoRa can come in and help people out.
Gotcha. Yeah. Hey, Dylan seems to have like some pretty good questions for you. I don't want to go too long on this call, but is there a good way for Dylan to maybe reach out to you to have some of these conversations? He's, talking about costs, and I think it's important stuff. I just, want to be mindful of time a little bit.
Yeah.
You can drop your email in the chat, Chris, would be great. And you and Dylan.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah. If Dylan, if you hello orkneylora.co.uk, both me and Benji will get that. If you email your questions to there, and we'll respond directly to you, and see if we can help you out.
All right. Well, Chris, I want to thank you guys for coming on today. And, I think there's a lot of other really cool things that you guys are going to do in the future, and excited to be working with you and, do more of these marketing things with you. Like I was telling Chris before, this is not like the last marketing thing we're going to do with OrkneyLoRa just because we're on a webinar. Like we're going to, look at, solutions you guys are developing and kind of tell your story a little bit. So excited to do that, and appreciate you guys taking the time today to be on here with us.
Yeah, that's great. And that's what I love about Helium. When I initially reached out, we weren't sure if we were too small to bother with, sort of thing. But it's great that the Helium's such a great community. And it's brilliant that Helium have grown so big, but you're also supporting the small guys that are working with you, and we're all coming up together. So it's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is how the project started, I mean, we're at almost 1 million hotspots now, but it was small little projects building the network out to start. So definitely can't forget your roots for sure.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well, Chris, Benjie, thank you guys again. Appreciate it. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode of the Uplink.
Okay.
All right. Bye everyone.
Cheers.